Hello, fellow Earthlings. Salary in software is a really complicated subject and one that's made worse by the current marketplace. I've got a lot of tips for you. Let's get to the video. When you're negotiating your salary for a new job offer, it's important to utilize all of the information at your disposal. Sometimes the information that you have and the information that your prospective employer has are unequal, and that will give one of you a leg up in the negotiation process. One of the most important parts of negotiating your salary is figuring out exactly how much you're worth and how much the company is willing to pay you. A few data points that you'll likely have are some market research you've done beforehand using online tools and your past salary experience, and potentially talking to your peers about how much they've made in different roles. Some of the data points that a prospective employer will have is the pay bands for your specific role, how much they know that it's worth, and their own more comprehensive market research. Because of this, depending on the position and company you're applying for, it can actually be really difficult to get on the same playing field as your employer. Doing so is really important. Because there are so many different types of software engineers with the same job title, for example, strong web developers but very little CS fundamentals, and strong computer scientists who are more of scientists than actual software engineers or developers, there's a wide disparity in pay and compensation for the same sounding position. Because of this, it's really important to be honest and understand your skill set and what you bring to the table. If you want to learn more about the different education paths and tracks that different software engineers take, you can learn about that more in my other video here. One of the most beneficial things you can do to increase your chances of getting the salary that you deserve is come prepared with good market research and understand your worth and your worth to the specific company. So this can be broken down into two main steps. Doing market research through online tools like Payza, Glassdoor, and Levels.fyi, which is all links for down in the description, and doing some research on the specific company and the tiers that they pay their engineers. Another really important consideration is where you're going to live. For example, if you live in San Francisco, you need to make significantly more to maintain the same quality of life that you would have in like Tampa, Florida, or something similar. It's really important to understand that the different types of software engineers get grouped into essentially the same average in Glassdoor and other online tools. So if you're significantly more advanced, then a lot of the complete aggregate sites like Glassdoor are going to significantly undervalue you, and it's really important to do some further market research to understand what your specific skill set is worth. The best way to determine your worth is to go to one of the online tools like Levels.fyi, type in your potential company and the position that you'll be holding, ideally the location as well, and you'll see a pretty good estimation of what people are actually being paid. Generally, you should target the 75th percentile for any given position, as that's closer to market rate, given that most people dramatically under-negotiate. The first thing you need to do whenever you get a new offer is to evaluate whether it's too low, potentially even too high, or if it's just right. If it's significantly outside of the bounds of your expectations for your skill set in the role, that's potentially a red flag that the company's having a hard time hiring and is trying to lure you in with a big comp package. That's not always a bad thing, but it's important to keep in mind. It's also important to realize that software engineers are high-value employees, and so a big number that beats your expectations doesn't necessarily mean that it's outside of the norm. It could just mean that you're unfamiliar with comp packages in software. The first question you need to answer is whether you need to ask for more. The answer to this question is always yes. A company's first offer is never what they're expecting to pay. It's especially never the maximum that they're willing to pay. The next really important question is to figure out exactly how much more you need to ask for. The best way to do this is to look at your current total comp package, which is going to include a base salary typically, a bonus, and potentially some equity depending on the company you work at. If the company is not already public or liquid, then don't really count their stocks too heavily, especially if they're not anywhere close to a liquidity event, like an IPO or another chance for you to sell your shares. The next step after you've figured out what your total comp is to figure out what your total comp should be relative to the market. Again, you're shooting for the 75th, maybe a little higher than that percentile. The reason you want to shoot for the 75th percentile is generally because most people drastically under-negotiate, and so the 75th percentile is probably close to what you're worth. Once you know the total comp package and your market worth, it's some pretty easy arithmetic to figure out how much more you need to ask for. Now that you know the difference between your current offer and what your value is, it's now time to figure out how you want to ask for that. Do you want to ask for more bonus? Do you want to ask for a bigger base, a signing bonus, or more equity? It all depends on the company, but here's a few tips. Generally, companies are scared away by big recurring expenses. So it's better to ask for a signing bonus up front or a yearly bonus based on performance than it is to ask for the same amount increase in your salary. Just make sure that if you ask for a performance-related bonus, you get how you're going to be measured in writing. That way, you can't just say like, oh, well, you did terrible, so you're not getting your bonus this year. If you're having to relocate, I found huge success in just asking for a signing bonus to cover the relocation expenses that you're going to incur. This works really well and can sometimes be tax deductible depending on how far away you move. The next important thing you need to consider is the benefits. That's healthcare, vision, dental, 401k. Do they have free lunch, free food, free transportation, things of that nature. If these are subpar for the tech industry, maybe it's better to ask for a little bit more salary because benefits in the tech industry are generally very, very generous and add a lot of value to your life. Some examples of the benefits that I've seen in the past that have been massively valuable to me. One of the companies that I worked for offered a stipend for electric vehicles, which was really great as it reduced my car payment. So I was okay with a little bit less base than if they didn't have that benefit because it immediately reduced my monthly expenses. Once you have an initial offer from your potential employer and you know what to ask for, you need to write up an email to them asking for the difference and the things that you've identified that you would like. At this point, they'll probably send one more email back to you asking to get on the phone and discuss the negotiation a bit further. It's really important to be flexible with where they're going to add that value, whether it be through a signing bonus, additional salary, or a year-end bonus, potentially even equity. Because of this, it's pretty important to go into the negotiation knowing exactly how much more you want added to your total comp package and be creative with the potential employer. I hope your next negotiation is successful. If you have any more questions, you can feel free to leave a comment. I'll be sure to add more videos about negotiation and salary in the tech industry in the future. See you later.